There's a shadow that hides a lot of secrets under the skin of a sheep. Suzy, Peppa's best friend, is a pretty controversial character, and there are mysteries about her that might be weirder than you think. But are the secrets really that evil? Let's make one thing clear. She doesn't have a dad, and we'll tell you why in a bit. But there is a male character who's responsible for this sheep's existence since the very first episode with Suzy. She showed up next to her mom and then with her grandma. Fans have a pretty valid question about Peppa's best friend's family. Who's Suzy's dad? There are a bunch of theories, but the most likely one is that Mrs. Sheep split from her ex-husband and got custody of her daughter. And yeah, that's totally possible. But the thing is, that wouldn't stop Mr. Sheep from being in his daughter's life unless he didn't want to. The second theory is that Suzy's mom is a widow because her husband sadly passed away. She's more alive, and it actually makes a lot of sense because the sheep wouldn't have taken Suzy to another country if her dad was still alive. The show even skips showing Suzy in the Father's Day episode on purpose to avoid answering that question. But we'll tell you the truth, Suzy might be a lab experiment led by a really smart scientist that we all know. He would obviously be the male character responsible for that. Hey there, guess what? Today we're diving into some mysteries with Suez. Grab your popcorn and kick back because another episode is starting. We're going to show you how to make a clone just like Suzy the sheep. So grab some paper and a pen or just use your phone. First off, take a picture of the person or animal you want to clone. Once you've got that image on your computer, right-click on the photo and select copy. And there you go, your clone is ready perfect. Is that how Suzy the sheep was created? Putting the jokes aside, she has all the chances of being a clone. Not of her mom, but of her grandma. And worse, there might be a whole family of clone sheep. Doubt it? Peppa Pig makes some references to the real world, like Queen Elizabeth I, Mr. Fox being a thief, and Mr. Wolf wanting to eat Daddy Pig, just like in the fairy tale. Those are some real-life examples. In Suzy's case, the character references the story of Dolly the sheep, who was the first cloned animal. The first animal clone made by humans is totally possible. Just like Blue references Australian culture, the show does the same with Great Britain. Dolly was a sheep from Scotland, and Peppa's best friend is a nod to that. Because of this, a much cooler theory can be made. There's another sheep that's important to the world and is also in Peppa's universe. I'm talking about Polly, a sheep created alongside Dolly, but the difference is that it's not a clone. It's an animal with human DNA, meaning it had human traits. You get where we're going with this? It's the same technology that created the world of Peppa Pig. Animals mixed with people. But who could have done that? There are only two characters capable of it, Grandpa Rabbit and of course Edmund Elephant, who is probably just an adult in disguise. Another clue is that there are only female sheep in this family, Grandma, Mummy Sheep, Suzy, and Cousin Charlotte. That's super weird. It's almost like they didn't have figures because they don't need them since they all are born in a lab. There's a lot of mystery, like a possible evil twin of SUS when she mistreats Peppa or wishes for trees to be cut down. These are two examples of the theory that she could be a clone and that there are other copies out there. The twin might not like having to pretend to be her sister, especially since her mom and grandma don't want to admit the truth to the whole town. That would be way too terrible for everyone, and could also reveal that the rabbits are behind all this. Cloning might be one reason why Mrs. Rabbit is always everywhere, even in France. In the case of the gang, her twin sister, who's actually a clone, is easily recognized when we see the little sheep being mean, like when she fights with Peppa or tells them to cut down trees for no reason. Maybe that's why Mrs. Sheep wanted so badly to leave the country. She just couldn't handle it. Keeping the daughter's clone hidden for so long and how she missed out on the job opportunity. The only solution was to invite Grandma to live with them so she could keep the clone locked up. Notice that when Suzy asks why they're moving, the character plays it cool and says there will be 3 people living in the house. She does this in front of Peppa just to throw the main character off, because there's already a clone living there. Would you want a clone to handle your boring tasks? Comment clone so we can make a copy of you. The reason behind everything is that the sheep family uses clones because they actually sell their own wool and need a lot of it. Just think about it. What a genius idea. The whole world needs sheep wool, and we see in the episode about George's new outfit that there are clothes made from wool that could only have come from Suzy and her family. That's how they make money, and that's why Mama Pig wanted to move to find a place that would buy sheep wool for a good price. As you probably noticed, the competition among sellers is tough since Suzy and her mom didn't land that dream job. And who's the owner of the sheepland trade? Of course, it's Mrs. Coelho and her whole family. They own all the businesses in town, not to mention Mr. Raposo's shop. Grandpa Coelho might have cloned Grandma Coelho years ago to start his wool clothing business, and that helped him build a huge fortune. But to keep the production going, he turns out, that's when Mama Rabbit and Cousin Charlotte were born. We say born so you get it, but really, the characters are lab creations. You might doubt what we're saying, but there's only one character in the Peppa universe wearing a wool outfit, and that's Grandpa Rabbit with his cozy hat on. Not to mention that beard that looks like it's made of wool. If you notice, there's an anchor design on Grandpa Rabbit's hat, symbolizing that he was a sailor. But the thing is, the characters in the Navy wear a different kind of hat. Where did Grandpa Rabbit get that simple object? He's caught up in this story about exploring sheep to sell wool. And that's why Suzy's mom gets sad when she finds out she doesn't have a job. She couldn't escape. Could Grandpa Rabbit's beard be a wool mask to keep his face warm? Want another hint that he was the one who made the clones? Take a good look at Suzy's sheep pajamas. In a future episode when Peppa goes to sleep at her house, the biggest clue is right there in the middle of the little sheep's pajamas. And we can see a drawing of an anchor just like the one on Grandpa Rabbit's wool hat. Everyone remembers the episode with Leo, Suzy's imaginary friend. But what if he's not exactly imaginary? What if Suzy actually sees a lion that only she can notice in the world? That would make her a bit of a strange sheep, right? Maybe. All the lab experiments she must have had last time, the little sheep started seeing things and developed a split personality. This theory could explain the whole evil twin sister thing. It's always been Suzy, or rather the other Suzy that exists inside the original one, who sees imaginary lions, or maybe something deeper. Suzy might be able to see spirits. Maybe that's why she didn't notice that Madame Gazelle didn't have a reflection in the mirror. She's so used to seeing stuff like that she didn't even realize her teacher could be one. There's a vampire in the little sheep's head. Some folks don't have reflections because she doesn't realize she can see things from the other side. You know what's better than seeing spirits? Watching our videos. So hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. But why is Suzy so eager to have the trees cut down? This mystery unfolds over a few episodes. First, when the turtle escapes from the vet and climbs the tree, all the characters mess up and get stuck in the branches. That's when Suzy gets an idea. It offers 3 chances for the plant to be knocked down. Is it against the environment or something like that? Is it evil and wants people to fall from the tree and get hurt? The truth is much simpler than that. Sheep really like to eat leaves, but since they're shorter and can't climb as well as their cousins, the goats, they can only eat the leaves that fall to the ground. Just like Peppa loves jumping in the mud because she's a pig, wolves like to howl because that's just what wolves do. And Pedro enjoys playing cowboy because he's a pony in the real world. Sheep love to chew on things, and what Suzy really wants is to reach the leaves up high in the trees. That way, she can bite something she can't normally get to. It's probably for the best that Grandpa and Grandma Pig never invite that sheep to their garden in the backyard. It could be pretty disastrous for the carrots and potatoes. Suzy just wants to be one. The nurses so much that in a future episode we see her fantasy, but there's also a drawing on the wall showing how much she wants this profession. But why exactly a nurse? Is there a reason she desires to take care of people so much? And Peppa's friend seems to like the idea of flying a plane when she grows up. Out of all the theories, this one makes the most sense. Suzy grew up away from her dad, and that's why she'd love to fly a plane, as it would help her live closer to him. But there's still more to it. It's a much deeper thing. She wants to be a nurse because maybe her dad is really sick or has already passed away while living far from her. In the episode about professions, she says she'd like to be a nurse because that job helps people get better. It seems like she has a deep desire for this, probably because Suzy lost her dad while living away from him, and that's why she dreams of being able to take care of others.